Thanks all of you who are already on the call. We're going to get going in just a couple of minutes. Actually, maybe let me get a clock so that I know where I'm at. I always forget something. Just so that I know, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, just so that I know that you guys can hear me, I have my mics on. You want to maybe just send me a message. Maybe you can even tell me who you are, where you're from. Welcome everybody for this. Hi, Nellie. All right, so I know that somebody's hearing me. Thanks for being on that call for me. Hopefully you guys can see everything. So much to share today. Perfect. I'm so grateful that you can hear me. I feel like I should get Baron and bring Baron out. I think I might. Hang on a minute. Let's bring out our beautiful Melt mascot. Everyone knows Baron who knows Melt. Let's leave you right here, buddy. Thank you. So before we jump in, I don't know whoever is listening out there, how many of you guys are brand new to Melt? You don't know what Melt is. You've heard about it from a friend, or just share anything about what you perhaps know or don't know. Happy to give you some insight today. I'm happy to be doing this. We're going to get going in 1 minute. Make sure you have some water near you. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Sue Hitzman. I am the creator of the Melt Method. I really appreciate everybody being here, and those of you guys who have subscribed to this page. A huge shout out to both brand new melters and our worldwide community of melters. I really appreciate everything you guys have done. I am celebrating that we've actually reached 20,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel, and for the last couple of months I have been sharing some tips and techniques about the Melt Method, and we're getting so much more interest, which I'm really grateful for. I thought I would come on and talk a little bit about the upcoming Level 1 Instructor Training course that is coming up in April. Share a little bit about that, but also for those of you who are brand new, I'd love to share a little bit about the methodology. And again, if any of you guys are brand new to Melt, either just as a participant, maybe, possibly, I'd love to be able to sway you toward the side of becoming a Melt instructor, and just to kind of give you a little bit of insight on what happens and what you can expect in an online course. So first of all, if you are brand new to Melt, Melt is a simple self-care technique. It enhances mobility, stability, and performance, and it's been clinically proven to eliminate chronic pain. We have had a number of research papers working over the last number of years, one specifically on low back pain, and that was kind of maybe my calling many years ago when I started this method. So for those of you guys who are brand new to Melt, or you've never met me, I am a manual therapist. I have been based out of New York City for the past 32 years, And just recently, I have relocated myself and my beautiful animals to Naples, Florida, which is where I am chatting with you today. I started out in the fitness industry in the late 80s when there were only two types of classes. There was calisthenic and high impact aerobics. I've been kind of obsessed with aging for pretty much my entire life. I would honestly say since I was 11. I had an experience of my great-grandmother being this spry woman, and then the next year not knowing who I was in a assisted living facility, and she couldn't speak to me. She didn't know who I was, and I thought, what happened to great-grandma? And my aunt said that she just got old. And I recall asking her, am I going to get old? She said, yes. And I said, well, how do you stop that from happening? And so I think at too young of an age, maybe that's a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, I got very concerned about the aging process and what it was to age or live well. And what epitomized health and wellness when I was young in the mid 80s and early 80s were people like Jack LaLanne and Jane Fonda. And so I got into fitness, and my first legitimate job was as a fitness instructor in 1988. And from there, I went on to get a master's in physiology and anatomy. And my background is as a neuromuscular therapist, which is basically working on people to recover from an injury. So I worked with a lot of athletes that had gotten injured, and when we get injured, we adopt a lot of faulty sensory motor pathways. Our movements become not efficient. We know when we're limping around, not only is that, the healing process of an ankle if we sprained our ankle, but it's actually causing a lot of issues well up the body. So I had really gotten into this idea that sensory motor control and neuromuscular therapy could really fix anything. And in the late 90s, at the peak of my fitness career, had an international best-selling boot camp video, was training elite athletes, and I woke up one day and the bottom of my foot hurt me, and I thought I stepped on a piece of glass. And I did what most people do. I ignored it. I iced it. I rested. I stretched. And nothing in my background really made a dent in the sensation that I had in my foot. It wasn't from an injury. And it was very elusive to me as to what was going on in my body. And I'm sure that anybody out there who has woken up with what I call sudden chronic pain it can relate to this. Like, have you ever woken up and you can't turn your head to the left and you say to somebody, I must have slept weird, which, like, how do you sleep weird? Or you bend over to pick up a pencil and your back spasms and you can't stand up for weeks. That's not an acute trauma. But it can cause acute inflammation. And the question is, if we treat it like a acute trauma and it isn't, what are the catastrophic effects? And for a lot of people, we get this accumulative stress in our bodies and it alters our stability. So for me, in the late 90s, when I got myself into a boatload of chronic pain, I veered out of the fitness industry to try to figure out an answer for my own pain and discovered this emerging field of neuroscience and fascial research and began to dive into understanding light touch therapeutic techniques and just started adding tools to my toolbox, which I'm sure a lot of you who are fitness professionals of some point, you're adding tools to your toolbox. And this was a huge discovery for me, was the role that fascia played in my pain point, because when I really was in the most amount of pain, I went all over the place trying to find an answer. I even had a doctor tell me that I might have lupus, or maybe it's fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, because what started out as foot pain turned into this body-wide fatigue for me, and it lasted almost 2 years. And I just remember at one point thinking, the first original diagnosis that I had heard was plantar fasciitis. And I thought, could inflamed fascia cause me all of the pain that I was feeling? And if that's the case, there was no exercise for that. And neuromuscular therapy was really working on sensory motor control, on muscles that had gotten inhibited, or there was compensation that was leading to persistent pain issues. But what if there was something else beyond just my muscles causing me a problem? What if there was something else causing the issue? So I dove into this world of fascia and discovered that fascia is quite a renewable resource. I have since then become a founding member of the Fascial Research Society, and in working with my clients with light touch therapeutic techniques, the way that I developed the method, because people ask me all the time, like, how did you develop this? Because a lot of people want to develop a program or do something. And I didn't go out there to create a method. It just kind of morphed out of my private practice as I started to share these light touch therapeutic techniques I was learning that got me out of pain to my clients. They were making these notable changes. And the big turning point for me was in 9/11, 2001, when the World Trade Center got hit. I got the rude awakening of post-traumatic stress disorder, and I recognized that pain wasn't necessarily just from accidents and injuries. It could be from illness, the flu, heartbreak, emotional trauma, physical stressors. Anything can cause your brain to send you a pain signal that something's not right. The problem with the messages our body tends to offer us is that we're not listening to them. We're not sure what our body is asking us for or what's happening. And this issue in our bodies starts to accumulate. And I always say, although 100% of the time your brain's what's producing your sense of pain, if your pain is chronic, you have an issue in your connective tissue. It's not just in your mind. So for the past 20 plus years, 22 years, I have been developing techniques and giving them to my clients. And it was a client of mine in the early 2000s who said, if you could just invent a way for me to do to myself that you do with your magic hands, I'd stay out of your office. So I started playing around with balls and rocks and rollers, and I came up with this idea of taking PVC piping. I wrapped it in bubble wrap. I wrapped it in a yoga blanket and a yoga mat, and I duct taped the thing together. And I started to apply these tension and compression light touch techniques that I would do with my hands. I was just simulating it. One day I released my neck. I knew I did it. And this gal that had chronic TMJ, migraines, and tension headaches, I started sharing these at-home techniques with her, and she went from needing to see me every week to going 2 weeks, 3 weeks, until she was able to maintain her freedom of pain. And she said to me, could you maybe invent a way for my husband to stop complaining about his back pain? And there it was. And so I just started to create these techniques. And by 2004, I knew I had something in my private practice. I just treated so many different types of people, ages, young kids, older adults, athletes, it didn't matter. But fascia always played a role in all of their imbalances. And as I started to develop these at-home techniques, I was able to get my clients better faster. And by 2004, I just knew I had something, and I thought, geez, I've been in the fitness industry for all these years. Maybe I could teach people this in a group environment and keep them out of my office, which was kind of a risk because maybe I would become unemployed, I thought, but that was not what happened. Instead, everything exploded. And I coined the term melt. I started teaching these group classes and using these soft tools, which is what we have today. I started sharing these techniques in this group environment, and people were getting so many results. By 2007, I had instructors saying, hey, I want to get trained in this method. This is amazing. I feel great. I'd love to share this with my clients. And so I went to work to start creating manuals, to write things down, all of the work that it really takes to put concepts together so that there was a protocol. And I coined the term the 4 R's of MELT, to reconnect, rebalance, rehydrate, and release. I started training instructors. And by 2010, I had trained a few hundred instructors. I set out to write a book. The first book came out, The Melt Method. It became a New York Times best-selling book. And in 2019, I wrote the second book, Melt Performance. And today, I have 2,000 instructors worldwide, 2 books, 5 levels of instructor training online, and all of the products that you would need to engage in this self-care at home on your own, or enhance your results with one of our Melt practitioners. And it's been an amazing ride. At 51, I feel like I've really set out to help people lead a more healthy, resilient life. My overall goal is to help people improve their health span and their overall well-being. So if this sounds intriguing to you, hopefully some of this will pique your interest in perhaps considering coming to one of my instructor trainings. Now, the instructor trainings we used to do live in 5 days, and then we incorporated a pre-training and then 5 days live. And when COVID happened, I moved every aspect of it online. And what's been incredible about the online instructor training is we're able to help more people. The instructors are able to watch and rewatch these videos and refine their practice. And there is a lot that is involved in the course. So I want to share a little bit with you. I have a pile of notes because there's so much that you get in an instructor training. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So first of all, you get trained in the level 1 curriculum, and it's over the course of 90 days. And as much as it's a self-paced course with modules, there are live instructor training calls with me and our master trainer, Carrie Bodendorf, and some of our top MELT teacher assistants, our teacher trainers, and they're there to guide you every step of the way to complete the training and to get you out there teaching right away. So there's not only the methodology, there's also business support embedded into the course. You can teach MELT confidently online in group classes and private sessions. So a lot of our instructors who are massage therapists, they incorporate MELT as at-home homework for their clients, as well as some techniques that they prepare. They ask their clients to get prepared for their hands-on treatment and gives them homework when they leave. A lot of our instructors teach group classes, ongoing group classes, workshops, special events, incorporating the MELT method. Some people incorporate it into their yoga classes, into their Pilates studios. So it's quite a versatile methodology. It's a complementary method to pretty much any other modality that is out there. The instructor training, it's 100% online. It's a totally flexible workout. I always say my top instructors are the ones that commit to a particular time each week to study inside the body of the course. It is not just a teacher training, it's a curriculum. It is literally like going to college. You are learning neurofascial science and research as well as a methodology in 3 months. It is jam-packed with tons of robust, rich information. And as a founding member of the Fascial Research Society and a dedicated practitioner and student of the human experience, I can tell you that there is so much that we are learning over the past decade about connective tissue, stem cells, and how to prolong your healthy, active life far beyond just diet and exercise. And this methodology is right on the pulse of all of that information. You get it firsthand from me. What else is included? You can do a split payment option so that, those of you who need to pay it over time, you can. So it's not like you need to put all of the money up front. You get lifetime access to the instructor training curriculum, which is again all online. The modules, you get lifetime access to that, as well as the instructor resources with us. We do have community support, private study groups on Facebook. We utilize Facebook to communicate off the cuff. Some of our instructors will have many questions, like anybody when you're learning brand new things. We have many, many questions. So to refine their practice, I answer a lot of these questions live on their private Facebook page, giving them a lot of added support, as well as our instructors are out there sharing it in this private way so that the instructors can also create study groups and connect to their peers, which I really love. In the level 1 instructor training, you get 3 manuals. You get one manual that has all of the details of the roller techniques. You get another instructor training manual that is all of the hand and foot kit techniques. There are different balls with different sizes and densities that we treat the hands and feet with. It is a methodology in and of itself. The hand and foot instructor training is actually a course in and of itself, but in the level 1, we incorporate the hands and feet and the roller, giving you all of the tools that you need to really create the foundation that mimics a lot of what was in the MELT Method book and refines that practice and adds on some really specialized techniques that don't appear in the book. The other thing that you get is the Science of Self-Care Manual. Over the many years of being a neurofascial science and research educator, I've amassed a lot of information. And so this is sort of a nice snapshot of neurofascial science and research so that you can understand connective tissue from a cellular level all the way on out to a structural level. Connective tissue is the stability system of your body, and understanding how to treat connective tissue in the fluid perfusion and induce the fluid movements of fascia to stimulate the sensory nervous system in this gentle, very effective way can transform your life. And awareness is 50% of the methodology. And so, you know, not only are we using rollers, we're really building body sense and intuition of what the messages of our body are, which again is a very refined type of practice to engage in self-care. And that's what you need to do. If you're in pain, you need to go into your body to get out of pain. You can't seek outside of yourself something that you can heal within. And so the goal of MELT is to get people in their bodies, to get them out of pain, to really sense their body in a new way, alter those sensory motor pathways so that we can start to restore function and minimize pain sensations. That's what we do in MELT. What else? You get CEUs for ACE, AFA, NASM, NCB, TMB, and most of these are for at least a year. So those of you who need CEUs, this one is jam-packed with CEUs. I also, in the training cost, I give you $200 toward getting the tools. You can buy all of the products, so they come included. You also get a free year of the MELT instructor membership, which is a $300 value. And being part of the instructor resources, you get product discounts at about 50% off, so that up to 50% off, so that you can resell products to your clients and generate a business in that capacity. You're in a searchable instructor profile at meltmethod.com so that people can come and find you, so that you can gain new leads through us directly. We have business support and resources to ensure your success. I can honestly tell you, in all of the years of getting educated, for me, I have so many certifications in hands-on therapy, and the struggle for me was always, once you got trained, how do you explain to people what you're doing, and how do you get people to come into your business? And so we try to provide as many of those resources, both to us to gain some insights, as well as tools that they can then use to bring people to their studios and to take classes from them. And you also get access to an exclusive Facebook group. Once you are an instructor, we have a private instructor Facebook page with about 700 of our top instructors are there, and we communicate daily over all sorts of stuff, all sorts of MELT banter. So the next training, and then I'm going to open this up for questions. This is a 3-month course. It starts April the 12th, and it goes on till June the 22nd. To register, you have to click in the description box below. So if you look, there's a description below this video, and use the coupon YT April 2022. The Y like you, T like 2, April 2022. And you'll get a $300 savings in the next upcoming level 1 just for hanging out with me today. That's cool. Thanks for my team for helping to make that happen. What else can I tell you about the course? I don't know. Hopefully you guys can all ask. I've got some of my team on here. Natalie can answer this ideally for you if you have any questions. But I have my computer here, and I'm going to see if anybody has any questions just about some of the stuff that I've talked about. And of course, I can elaborate on anything that you'd like. Yeah, so how do you get MELT certified? Go to meltmethod.com and you'll find out the information that I just described here. And again, if you decide to register, use the coupon code, and hopefully Rebecca or Natalie can write it in for you guys. YT April 2022, and you get $300 off the instructor training. And just go to meltmethod.com, and if you register before April the 12th and you pay in full, $300 off on that one. Our grants or scholarships available for MELT certifications. We don't do grants, but we do have a scholarship program, both for just anyone. We do have a scholarship program where we do full scholarship, half and quarter scholarships. And again, that's all on the MELT Method website, and you can find out how to apply for that, especially if you're struggling financially or you have a reason why you would need some support. We definitely do that. The next training after April, I think, is maybe in September. And while I appreciate you guys putting the questions here, I'm not sure I know that, Rebecca. So maybe somebody else can answer that. I don't know when the next training is. I have 5 levels of instructor trainings, all with manuals, all with a live and online component. There's so many courses that you can take to advance your curriculum, and not just the basics of MELT, but the neurostrength elements, the strength-based component of MELT. So the next training is scheduled for October if you can't make the April one. And can I get the products needed for class in the UK? Yes, you can, Nina. And in fact, our entire business is getting an upgrade. We are going to have some international shipping come this springtime, as well as a brand new website, making it much more user-friendly for people to find us, which would be exciting for me. Does the level 1 training include physical exercises with the roller or myofascial release only? Well, we don't do exercises. MELT is not an exercise program at all. The neurostrength component of it, these are neurological reintegration and repatterning techniques akin to neuromuscular therapy. They are not like any type of exercise or program you've ever done. If you've never worked with a trained neuromuscular therapist, it would be difficult to explain it, but we're literally neurologically reintegrating the neurological stabilization components of your shoulder girdle, your pelvic girdle, and what we call the neurocore, which I'm happy to explain a little bit more about. But in the level 1 curriculum, you learn the 4 R's protocol: reconnect, rebalance, rehydrate, and release. So the reconnect techniques, these are assessment techniques to evaluate where what I call stuck stress is living in the connective tissue system, altering the nice natural balance of what we define in MELT as our masses and spaces. This is all MELT vernacular with the living body model and the 4 R's protocol. So we teach people how to tap into their autonomic regulators of stress repair and digestion through the rebalance sequences and techniques. These again are very subtle body techniques that use breath work and activate the neuromyofascial channel, which is the deep aspects of our body that the autopilot, your autonomic nervous system, uses to mediate the balance of what, again, I call the masses and spaces, your bones and your joints. And then the rehydrate techniques, there are compression and lengthening techniques, and you learn how to apply the soft body roller to the 4 R's protocol of MELT. And you also learn move modifications using the half roller. So if you deal with people with scoliosis or persistent back pain, or we need a little bit of extra support, or you just have somebody who's very short, there's a lot of opportunities to work on a half roller. And in every level of our curriculum, we always have move modifications so that you can really work with anyone at any age and enhance their performance and decrease their risk of injury. So it's a pretty profound program. And then the 4th R is called release, and I teach people how to do natural traction of the cervical and lumbar spine to hydrate the spaces, to reestablish stability in the spaces so we can move our masses with efficiency. That's the 4 R's protocol. What's the thing most level 1 students say aha about in the first 2 weeks? That's really great. I think that people don't realize that connective tissue is a 3-dimensional fluid-based architectural matrix, and they begin to understand what biotensegrity is and how just treating your hands and feet can alter every aspect of stability, spinal mobility, and your overall efficiency as you move. So I think the biggest aha in the first 2 weeks is having your mind blown about looking at fascia on a three-dimensional scale and simplifying the cellular components of fascia to give way to a new understanding of how to restore optimal efficiency in your autonomic nervous system and to enhance your body's ability to move with ease. And then again, yeah, the hands and feet are the first, in the first module is what people start working on first. So I think what trips people out is working on their hands and feet and saying, so I'm already sleeping better, my neck feels better, and my knee and my low back don't bother me anymore, and we haven't even gotten to the roller. So I think that's probably the biggest aha in the first 2 weeks that our instructors come back with. Yeah, so the instructor training, how much does it cost? So the instructor training is $22.95, and again, we're giving you a $300 discount. The $22.95 also, so again, more like $1,900, and it includes $200 worth of product, a $300 instructor membership, discounts to products for resale, as well as every downloadable possible printout that you could need to begin to learn how to teach an intro class, get people in front of you, and literally make your money back in the first 30 days. And that to me is something, again, as a young entrepreneur, when I started to develop Melt, I developed products with my own money and everything I had saved. My life savings went into the practice. And one thing that I've always tried to do is to teach young entrepreneurs and solo business owners how to improve their bottom dollar, what's called your EBITDA, and increase that net so that you're thriving and actually making an income in what we call hands-off body work. So the beautiful thing about Melt is that it bridges the gap between group exercise instruction and the fitness industry and needing a manual therapist, a body worker, or acupuncturist to help keep you balanced. And so it really offers that nice middle of the road where you now have a new arsenal in your toolbox to engage in self-care and both enhance your performance when you are doing strength work and also decrease your risk of injury and your need to go to see a therapist and spend a lot of money and a lot of time seeking outside of yourself something that you could resolve in your own body. Do we need kinesiology manuals or anatomy books, or are all the materials needed provided? Yes, Chantel. Everything is provided. One of the things that has been really important to me, and even when I first started teaching, I'll share this, when I first started teaching Melt, I was bringing in strips of cow fascia. I was trying to explain neuroscience and fascial research. I was talking about glycoaminoglycans and proteoglycans and what the collagen matrix was and what was biotensegrity, and nobody cared. They just wanted to experience the methodology and feel a change. And as I started to share the methodology, I decided, gosh, I really need to simplify my science brain and try to find words that the general public can actually understand. Because if we can't make something simple, we alienate the very people we're trying to help out. So with the living body model and the 4 R's protocol, this simple language that Melt incorporates really helps to educate people on the elements of their body that provide support and intrinsic stability and how to care for that besides just eating right and exercising. Again, eating right, exercising, very valuable to your health span for sure. Diabetes, cancer, heart disease, you're going to minimize your chances of these things. But here's the bad news. Lots of people eat right and exercise and still have persistent pain issues. It's the dirty little secret of fitness. So I always say nobody ever complains about getting a hamstring replacement as they get older, but lots of people get hip and knee replacements. So Melt is very joint focused, and it's focused on restoring the supple supportive qualities of connective tissue for one sole purpose, is to enhance neurological efficiency and sensory motor control. And we just go kind of through a back door. So instead of trying to explain anatomy, I use very little anatomical language in the teacher training. And when I do, I use the technical term and the science, and then I simplify it into easy to remember terms so that you don't need to teach the science to your clients. Instead, you can teach them the method, and as it starts to work for them and their minds get blown and they start saying, I don't understand how I could lie on a roller and do some funny breathing sounds and suddenly I feel so much better for weeks. Why is that? And now you can explain it because they're interested, right? But we don't need to explain the science to get people motivated. Remember, education makes you smarter, emotions make you react. So if you can speak to people and create that rapport, utilizing the simple self-care method, speak to them on an easy to understand level, you will transform people's lives. And I am very privileged to say that the thousands of instructors who have come through to be MELT instructors have transformed hundreds of thousands of people's lives. They teach live classes online, they teach live classes in person, one-on-one, and they're out there in the trenches just transforming people's lives just as much as I do. So it's kind of amazing. Is there a 15 to 20 minute video that explains MELT well for those who haven't heard about MELT? Yes, actually, if you are on this YouTube channel, you'll see some information here. You can also go to the MELT Method website and you can learn about it there. But you'll see a video here. If you just scroll down, what is the MELT Method? It's right there. You can learn a little bit about it. MELT is accredited, again, certifications, ACE, AFA, NASM, PMA, which I know they've changed that, but that's the Pilates Method Alliance certifications, NCB, TMB. So essentially, anyone who is a therapist or in the personal training type of world, we are accredited through those accreditation bodies. And if you are a PT, many of our PTs can submit the CEUs from NCB TMB, and they're also accepted through your physical therapy or chiropractic certification needs. I have one here that says, my husband has some shoulder challenges, but me convincing him that MELT could help him isn't working. Yes, it would be nice if our male cohorts would listen to the wise women who are trying to keep them healthy and alive longer. Because here's the thing, ladies, we are probably going to age better and longer. I believe that I'm going to age at some point in my life. I just want to do it later. I think I'm going to live until I'm at least 107, maybe 111, could be 120. But you know, with DNA, stem cell research, and fascial research, we are right at the precipice of literally harnessing what is in our bodies that will prolong the longevity of our efficiency, right? We have senescence, which is kind of like death programmed into our cells. But now with stem cell research, we know that there are a lot of ways to alter and adapt those telomeres. So fascia is inherently linked to not only your DNA and your stem cells, but it is also inherently linked to your lymphatic system, which is part of your healing system. It is our immune functions. It's the most important dominant aspects of our immune function. So understanding how to harness the fluid component of fascia and not just use rollers. I get it. People see the roller, they think it's a foam rolling program, but MELT is not a self-myofascial release technique. It is a neurofascial technique. It is a way to induce fluid perfusion through the fascial matrix to enhance and support the sensory nervous system to motor response aspects of our stability. So it is a very nuanced methodology that isn't like anything that you've ever done, but it will certainly enhance everything that you currently do, not an exercise program. And so if you're trying to get your husband to experience MELT, maybe get him to watch this, I don't know, but what I can tell you is that if you have shoulder pain and all you do is go to a physical therapist and start treating your shoulder, it's kind of like, think of chronic pain as your alarm going off when your toaster's on fire. Most people, when they get an alarm like that in their bodies, they walk over to the smoke detector and they take the batteries out, but the toaster is the fire alarm, they take the batteries out, but the toaster is still on fire, right? And we kind of do that to our bodies. So we need to learn to listen to the messages of our bodies and to reconnect and to gain a better sense of how to self-care in a way that doesn't inflict pain. You know, there's a lot of self-myofascial concepts out there that say, hey, take a ball, jam it into the areas that hurt you, and just, you know, go after the parts of your body that hurt you. But, you know, again, if I kind of looked at pain in your body like a victim, It's like a kid crying out for your help. You wouldn't run up to a kid and punch them in the face if they were crying out for your help, would you? No. Instead, what would you do? You'd get down at their level, you'd calm them down, you'd console them, you would get them to breathe, and then you would take information in, and then you would take action. But when our bodies are hurting us, we don't do it that way. We jam balls right into the areas that are screaming out for our help, like we're going to will it or annihilate the pain sensations to make it stop. But our brain is what's producing our sense of pain. So what MELT really teaches you how to do is to create a new conversation with your body, really enhancing your self-awareness so that you can be proactive rather than reactive to pain points, right? We are not very proactive when it comes to pain, are we? We do things after we have a problem. MELT will really teach you to catch the subtle imbalances that ultimately accumulate and cause most of the persistent pain symptoms that we feel. So it's a profound methodology that even men, even husbands, can learn to do. I can tell you it will work and it will transform your life and make you feel better. And I always feel like, I get it, when we're in pain, we also want to seek outside of ourselves and get somebody else to fix us. But if you realize that you have a renewable resource in your body and ways to very quickly alter sensory motor control, and you stick with it, you will age better. I feel like at 51, I look and feel younger than I did at 31 when I was in pain. And I would just encourage any of you guys to really consider that if you have pain, are you doing things that will minimize the pain sensation and actually restore optimal health? I wonder if we're really even doing that at all. Let's see. Nina Taylor Fitness asked, how many times a week would you recommend a client do MELT for the best results? I always say a minimum of 3 times a week, 10 minutes a day. That is the minimum amount of time that I have ever had results with my clients. So when I sort of shared this, one of the biggest things that I saw on my client history forms when I was at the peak of my practice, seeing about 500 people a year, almost 800 people some years. And one of the primary things people would check off is low back pain and neck pain. So the two primary spaces of our body, accumulative stress loves to live in spaces. So our abdominal space, our neck space, our knee space, these are areas that get tons and tons and tons of accumulative stress living in them. And when connective tissue isn't hydrated, it can create a chemical response. And that's one of the things that breaks down our joints in general is the chemical adaptations in fascia, not just wear and tear, not just your athleticism. You can be an athlete for your whole life and not necessarily need a knee replacement, but we need to keep that tissue hydrated and supple. And when my clients who had back pain came to see me, it was a minimum, one sequence every other day, if they could, a minimum of 3 times a week. So most people would start to do it every other day. And as they started feeling better, a lot of them would say, well, can't I do it every day? I said, if you're willing to do it every day, you'll get better faster. So for me, I melt every day. I melt sometimes when I watch television at night. I melt in the afternoons, in the middle of my day, after I've been sitting on my butt all day long because I don't want back pain and neck pain. And sitting is definitely our desk sentence. It's the new smoking is sitting. So it's a death sentence for so many of us. So again, 3 times a week. Nina also asks, would my daughter, age 10, with a spinal fusion and sensitive spinal cord, be able to do MELT once her surgeon has given her all clear? Absolutely. And Nina, your daughter would start with the hand and foot treatments. This was the way that I treated everybody. Anybody that came to see me, I might do hands-on treatments and evaluation everywhere on their body, but their homework, everybody always began with a mini softball hand and a mini softball foot treatment. And I got them to do one of those every single day. Then we add the Rebalance Sequence. Your daughter would most likely use the half roller. She's lying the length of her spine. It's going to be easier for her to be on that half roller. And she will slowly progress her way into doing more of the techniques. At 10, we've got so much potential to transform a 10-year-old's life. They're not old birds like me where it's more difficult to adapt tissue, but you can at any age. Do I recommend a really good book about fascial anatomy and context? Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, first, if you just want the basics of things, I would tell you to read either of these 2 books. And the fascial anatomy book, there's so many. I can leave some like notes in here and give you like maybe some of my top picks, but there are so many fantastic books on connective tissue now. And actually, if you go to fasciaresearch.org, you'll find research papers on it and amazing books that are out there. There's so many. Has melt been used for people with cluster headaches? Yes. I mean, cluster headaches, migraines, tension headaches. You know, headaches happen for all sorts of reasons. Chemical, blood flow, neurological, right? There's all sorts of origins. So adding melt will help to ease some of that stress and tension and can oftentimes stave off those cluster headaches, which it seems like nothing really seems to work. The mini hand, then the softball hand treatments, the forearm work, the upper body compression and rehydrate, neck release and face treatments, all of these things are incorporated over time with people that have cluster headaches. But again, we don't go right to the areas that we have pain, so we don't work right on the skull. We try to work indirectly to see if we can find other sources besides the skull that might be contributing to those cluster headaches. And that's the thing with headaches in general. People miss that it's not just all in your head. The body is reacting and responding and causing more imbalances, and that is what exacerbates migraines and cluster headaches. Great question. Chantel says, what are my thoughts about scraping tools that seem to be popular in physio? So painful. My chiro uses this on the top of my foot for my tendonitis. You know, Graston technique, those are really powerful techniques. They have a time and a place. If you had scar tissue, sometimes using a blade can actually induce acute inflammation and help for that healing process if we've gotten injured. But I always say, why would you cause pain to get out of pain as your first route to find transformation in your body, right? Do we want to just, you know, go right after our bodies as a first route? I would highly recommend adding melt first. And if you were going to go to your physio to go get Graston on your tendon, maybe melt your feet and your calves and your shin, maybe your whole lower body before you go. And you might find that they don't need to do as much scraping because the tissue has more of that supple quality. And instead of doing scraping, what would you then do is add neurostrength and start getting at your real instability, which is most likely in your pelvis, not your ankle. And so we can work throughout the entire body and help to improve your stability. So hopefully that answers that question. I don't know if there were any other questions, but if you have any others, I'm happy to answer anything else. But for me, you know, it's been a real joy. I mean, we've been able to transform people's lives. The teacher training is, to me, so cool, and I love geeking out on neuroscience and fascial research. And so the way that I've incorporated the science into the program is not dry science. It will actually get you excited to learn more. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of our instructors say about this manual is they're like, as soon as I started reading, and of course in the back, somebody asked me about books, all of the book resources that I would recommend are all right here. So there are so many amazing books, amazing research papers. There's just so many. I mean, I could read down the list that I even just have here in the back of the manual. But, you know, again, neuroscience and fascial research, how does the autonomic nervous system function to maintain stability? What is the autonomic nervous system? What is the peripheral nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, the enteric nervous system? How does it work with biopsychosocial imbalances? You know, how does sleep inherently get out of whack because of connective tissue issues that are left unaddressed, altering sensory motor control? So in the teacher training, I will link fascia to every other system in your body because it's connective tissue. They don't call it connective tissue for nothing. So understanding that on a cellular level and working us from micro to macro in the education, you will come out of the training really excited about learning how to transform not only your life, but other people's lives by engaging in subtle body self-care. Again, awareness is 90% of the problem with most people. We don't realize that the body is telling us it needs our help. And when it does, again, it's a fire alarm going off when my toaster's on fire and me walking over to the fire alarm and taking the batteries out instead of going to the toaster, trying to figure out the cause of why the fire alarm is out. So I just think that, you know, if what you want to do is really understand the human body in a completely different way, beyond muscles and bones. This methodology is for you. To be able to witness people transforming their bodies right in front of you never gets old. I've been teaching in groups for my whole life, and watching people transform right in front of you is incredible. It is literally a mind-blowing opportunity to transform lives by using something so simple. I don't have any. Oh, here's a couple of more questions. Carrie says, I'll be signing up soon. In what level do you incorporate melt performance techniques? In level 3. So in level 1, we learn all of the fundamental sequences from the melt method book. So there were 7 fundamental sequences: the rebalance sequence, the upper and lower body length sequences, the upper and lower body compression sequences, the neck and low back release sequences, and we also had the hand and foot protocols in this instructor training, so pretty incredible. In level 2, we start to incorporate the core challenge, which is our stepping stone into neuro strength. And then in level 3, we add, that's the melt performance book, and some of the fundamental techniques that are incorporated into melt. And then in level 4 and level 5, then you're really into some of these really more specific neurological reintegration and repatterning techniques, standing and floor work. So it's just a nice gradual progression. And of course, for those of you who are listening to this, and you're like, I don't know if I would actually be a good instructor. I don't know if I'd want to be an instructor. We do have Melt on Demand, which is my streaming platform. There are over 400 videos there in the categories of pain, performance, lifestyle. So you can learn to melt at home on your own. There is a Getting Started section there that walks you through the fundamental sequences and treatments to be able to apply it to your body. But again, what is profound about the teacher training is that you're learning how to cue, visual, verbal, and touch cue the techniques with your clients and teach in both one-on-one and live and online groups. Generating a revenue. We have instructors who have paid for their children's college education by teaching melt. So it is a lucrative opportunity to actually take a course where you have every opportunity to turn right around, make your money back, and then some, pay for every level of training and transform people's lives in your community. Lucy Crow asks, can melt benefit your digestion? Is there a map for digestion? Well, first of all, there's no one melt map for anything. There are collections of techniques that you can slowly incorporate, but the whole thing about melt is you don't want to do melt for like 2 hours, right? If I were going to give you every technique that would viably assist you in digestion, you'd be melting for 4 hours a day. Instead, we take small bites and we start to improve the neuromyofascial communication. So the answer is yes for digestion, depending upon what the digestion is. I have people who have IBS, I have people who have Crohn's disease, people who just have poor absorption, poor endocrine systems, menopause, causing all sorts of problems with digestion. So really getting to the root cause. And again, in the teacher training, I relate fascia to every aspect of your body, your endocrine system, your musculoskeletal system, digestive system, your nervous system. I can relate fascia to everything, and I do, and break it down for you so that you understand how perhaps your fascial imbalances are actually stressing out your autonomic nervous system, which may be the cause of the disruption in your enteric nervous system, which is your gut regulator, and that's what causes digestive issues. Mind-blowing. You're going to learn all of this in the instructor training course. And what melt maps? I mean, there's all sorts of ones. The hand treatment, rebalance, some of the rebalancing techniques in general. There's so many ways to work through the digestive tract. The foot treatment is very profound for digestive issues. What year was melt invented? Well, I started developing the actual techniques in 2002. That was when my client Donna said if I could invent a way for me to do it myself what you do with your magic hand, she'd stay out of my office. But then in 2004, I coined the term melt, and I started teaching in group exercise classes in 2004. So it's been a good solid 20 years of my life. What could we add as melt teachers? Melt on Demand is already So good. Oh, what can we add as melt teachers? Are you kidding me? You know, for what I can teach in a recorded class or even in a live class, our melt instructors it's the same thing as, like, you know, why would you want to go to a Pilates class when you have all of these online Pilates sessions? Well, our instructors can add a level of refinement. They, again, are excellent with touch cueing, and when you work with one of my instructors, it's not just me talking at you as we do on Melt on Demand. You're just watching a video, but here Melt instructors are watching you on their Zoom sessions, you know, watching you in live settings, and also being able to work with you one-on-one or literally physically live if you're near one of our instructors. So to me, I feel like our melt instructors add a huge level of refinement and care. And a lot of people, when they are in pain, I can share this with you, they're afraid to do things to themselves. They actually think they'll make it worse, which is why the 4 R's protocol is so critical. The assessment techniques really allow people to both assess where their body baseline is when they begin the protocol, treat their body, and then reassess to value the changes. And if they are changing their bodies to the positive, this is very exciting for somebody who does not feel change in their bodies. Your world gets awfully small when you can't get yourself out of pain, right? So as you start to feel your body relax, you feel the decrease of tension or compression around the body, allowing the nervous system to send new neural signals throughout the body, altering sensory motor control and which motor neurons are activated. It's profound. You know, you can really transform a life. So I think that the instructors are adding a massive asset to anybody who really wants to engage in self-care. I can also tell you this, you know, when I watch my clients who have taken classes with me many, many times, they've taken classes, they've had privates, and every once in a while we'll be in a class and I'm like, wait. What voice are you hearing in your head because you're not doing what I'm asking you to do? And we make these minor adjustments in their body position, and sometimes they're like, I think that's the first time I've done that correctly. And it really does. You know, MELT is a very refined methodology. So having an instructor can really sharpen your self-care tool and make you a self-care advocate for your own wellness over time. And I think that's pretty beautiful. SwagGNC says, if you're a larger person, are there trainings in Melt on Demand that show modifications, or is this where an instructor would be more appropriate? Definitely an instructor, but on Melt on Demand there are different videos showing how to use the half roller and move modifications. There's a refined category on Melt on Demand, working with very nuanced techniques. And the thing I want to assure you guys of is the beauty about Melt is that it meets anybody wherever they're at. So whether you had neuropathy and couldn't stand up and do a foot treatment, you can do it seated. You can't get on the floor, you can do a lot of the techniques on a bed. You can't use the full roller because of whatever the reason is, we have a half roller. So there's always a way to modify, and that's what our instructors are really keen on doing, is understanding how to meet you exactly where you're at to take some of the guesswork out of what to do to get yourself started. Now again, when you go to Melt on Demand, there's a getting started section, and really, again, it didn't matter what my clients had, cancer, digestive issues, sleep problems, joint pain, a surgery, I would always start people in relatively the same place, hands, feet, rebalance. One of those 3 treatments they were getting as homework. And as they applied the homework every day, they got better faster. And that was how I started to build a program for each person that was contoured exactly for them. And so that's, again, what you learn in the teacher training, is how to refine your skills as a teacher to help build protocols and melt maps that are specific to your clients. Vera is asking, do I have experience in clients with multiple sclerosis who needs to relax the spastic muscles on the legs? Of course, I've worked with many people with MS and muscular dystrophy also. But MS, you know, MS comes in very many different shapes and forms. And so same principle, foot treatments, hand treatments, lower body compression, rebalance. We just work with the individual. So something that I always say in the teacher trainings is I don't treat a diagnosis. I treat the person. So I'm treating a person wherever they're at to improve who they are, where they are, and how they feel in that moment, and how to prolong that good feeling so that they can begin to improve their body baseline. I don't treat a disease, a dysfunction, or a disorder. I treat the person. And that's what we do in MELT. We're not treating your symptom, we're treating you to enhance you. It's mind, body, spirit, soul. It's every aspect of yourself to reconnect to your body. A lot of people have chronic pain and it's emotional. I'm just going to let you know that. Emotional, psychological trauma that is unresolved from a lifetime, and we don't realize that we manifest a lot of imbalances, and we almost, like a magnet, bring negativity into our world because of something that has gone unresolved. And MELT becomes an inquiry. MELT really becomes a litmus test for your tolerance of how you manage stress. It gets you to realize how well or not well you manage stress, how well or not well your body repairs. That's what you learn in the methodology. And so I really feel like what I feel very privileged as a educator and a teacher is to help people recognize that they have the potential in their bodies to help enhance their body's natural healing process. In MELT, we're not trying to make you the driver of your healing process. It doesn't work that way. Your autonomic nervous system, autonomic aspects of stress repair and digestion, the autonomic aspects of stability are working involuntarily, but we have the capacity to support, protect, and stabilize this system and to enhance it and improve its efficiency. And so we become a helper of our autonomic regulation rather than the driver to enhance it. And that's a very unique aspect of it. We're not here to fix anything. We're here to help your body heal itself. Big important concepts of MELT. Can MELT help restless leg syndrome? 100%. We've done it many times. It's actually probably one of the best programs to help with restless legs, so 100% yes. Stella is asking, hi Sue, do I plan on teaching courses in person in Europe as I used to? I won't teach the courses, but what we will teach are the refines. So once you take the course online, you're trained in it, but then like this summer, we're doing live refine events at Red Mountain Resort in Ivins, Utah for our level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where they get 3 days of live hands-on work with me in a small live setting. So we will be getting back to that, and I'm sure I will be back to Europe specifically to do these immersions. But the whole instructor training course is online, and it's exceptional. I mean, you get more than anything you could possibly imagine. Ask any of our instructors what they think of the course, and we get rave reviews. It will give you everything that you need to get out there and teach. Sherry McLaughlin is asking, how do we find out who our instructors are in our area, like in Portland, not just classes, but training instructors? If you go to meltmethod.com and click on find an instructor, put your zip code in and you'll see which instructors are near you, and you can read all about them and read their bios right online. Beth Antel asks, do I teach people how to assess clients to determine which map or technique to start with? I teach you how to ask questions to your client so that your client starts to tell you what they need, and yes, how to develop the MELT map. That's exactly what you're going to learn to do, is use your intuition and your trial and error, but also by way of this guideline that you learn in the course of how to do what we call the indirect before direct approach of MELT. And you learn how to devise these programs that may last 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks with clients to build their tolerance up so that they improve their body baseline. So again, it's not an overnight thing. When you've been in pain, you want to decrease the accumulative stress, which for some people takes a little time, but you'll start feeling the changes in your body right away. And as your body alters sensory motor control, your pain dissipates. It's a beautiful thing with the methodology. Can the CEUs be used for credits for master's or PhD programs? I don't know. You can ask your certifying body, your school, what kind of CEUs they take, and we can find out. What's the youngest age for MELT? The youngest youngest kid I've ever worked on was 5, actually trying to teach melt to her. But most of our kids are usually around 9, 10 years old is usually where their proficiency, where you can actually teach them how to do the techniques. Usually by the time they're 10, they can really gain the capacity. If you get young athletes, the sooner they learn how to restore the fluid flow of their connective tissue, the better. That's my big tip for you guys. I'm going to answer 2 more, and we're kind of at the end of the hour. I don't want to rush you guys out of here, but you can go ahead and ask me more messages. I'll be over on Instagram probably tomorrow. If you haven't friended the Melt Method page on Instagram and Facebook, go over there and make sure that you subscribe to the page here as well. And we also do a monthly newsletter, so also subscribe to our newsletter. You can find out all of the events and the courses that we teach and things like that. Chantel is asking, can melt slow down arthritis progression? 100%. Arthritis is inflammation of joints. That's exactly it. And I teach Pilates. Is melt a good combination with Pilates? Yes, Louise. And actually, we do have a melt for Pilates curriculum. Once you take level 1, you can also take the melt for Pilates curriculum, which is coming back in 2023 as an online course as well. So that being said, let me just check my notes, make sure that I didn't miss anything. Again, the next live instructor training is April 12th to June the 22nd. It's a 3-month all-inclusive course, both live support and online curriculum. It's all online. You get CEUs. You get $500, $200 as a credit to buy products, and $300 discount if you register with our YT, where is it? YT April 2022 coupon code. So make sure that you use that when you pay in full. I think I answered everything. And again, if you have more questions, you could always email us at info@meltmethod.com. Happy to answer some questions, or again, leave some comments below, and I'm more than happy to continue to try to answer questions. Again, if you haven't friended me on social, I am under Melt Method on Instagram and TikTok, on Facebook, and I am fairly present and always trying to land some spiritual, physical, emotional, and psychological support out there, to which I think everybody needs. So listen, I hope that this intrigues you guys, and this chat gets you intrigued to maybe learn a little bit more about the Melt Method, whether you become an instructor or you find an instructor near you and engage in this powerful self-care method. I'll be back on YouTube this Friday talking about sleep and how to enhance your sleep and why sleep is so critical to the connective tissue system and your overall health and well-being. I'll be sharing some of my self-care strategies to get myself asleep faster and to stay asleep more soundly, as well as doing a couple of simple self-care techniques. We'll probably do the Rebalance Sequence. I'll teach you that one. And if you don't have the Melt products, you can do it with a roller. With the towel rolled up. And that is at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time this Friday. So again, make sure that you subscribe to our Facebook page. Head over to meltmethod.com. Make sure that you subscribe to our email list so you can find out about all of the events in Costa Rica and Red Mountain Resort for the general public, as well as our instructors, and to also find an instructor near you. Until I see you, and I hope to see you perhaps this summer at one of our live events at Red Mountain Resort, Baron and I say good day. Make sure that you're sipping water frequently, eat water-filled foods, and if you would, do me one favor today. Would you go and call one person that you haven't talked to in a while and just give them a call and put some acts of kindness out there. Tell them why you love them, why you're so grateful to have them in your life, and put some positive vibes out there to elevate the frequency of the whole universe and to fill my heart with even more love than it already possesses. I really appreciate if you would do that for me. Until I see you in a live event, I'm Sue Hitzman, creator of the Melt Method. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you all soon. Happy melting.